Okay, I think we've got microphones on. And a very good evening. My apologies, it's 7:07, a little bit late tonight, but I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Bedminster Township Committee, regular meeting for June 5th, 2017. We have a quorum tonight. Shall I turn this down?
Steve is an old radio guy.
And I don't need a radio. I could do it just yelling out the window. How about that?
Old.
Not old.
Old radio guy.
AM,
Old radios.
Yeah.
AM radio. How about that? Out in the back. You can hear me okay?
What?
Too loud?
They can hear you twice.
All right. Okay. Or it could be we're on a delay. How about that? All right, we have a quorum tonight. Mr. Wilson is not with us tonight, and I believe he let us know that. Can we get the Open Public Meetings, oh, sorry, hold on, let you, Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville, the Burnsville News in Burnsville, to all subscribers, and also posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 9th, 2017.
I'll ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have two sets of meeting minutes, both May 15th regular session and the May 15th executive session. I just pointed out to Ms. Sullivan that there was just one item I had, and it was under, subcommittee reports, and it said that I reported that I will be attending the Somerset Hill School District Strategic Planning Meeting, and as of May 15th, I had attended the second meeting, because I think the third meeting was on the night of the 15th, so that's all I have.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Can I get a motion for the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
Permits and raffles. We have two raffles, and then we'll stop and we'll do a special use permit. A raffle license for the Children's Specialized Hospital Foundation. That's September 12th, 2017, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Fiddler Elbow Country Club. That's an on-premise 50-50. And a raffle license for the Boys and Girls Club of Newark. That's August 14th, 2017, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Trump National Golf Course. And that is an off-premise merchandise. Can I get a motion for those two?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And next we have a special use permit for the Cancer Support Community of Central New Jersey, Block 57, Lot 601. Amy Sutton, CEO. Are there some folks from the... Come on forward. If you want to come up to that microphone and just identify yourself, you won't make it on the video, but identify your voice for the audio portion of the recording.
Okay, first of all, my name is Michael Mullen. I am the Cancer Support Community's attorney. I am its member of its board, and I'm a member of its executive committee, and I have with me Amy Sutton, who is our longtime executive director. Say hello to everyone.
Good evening. Hi.
Good evening. So why don't you just give a brief description of what you're looking to do?
Sure. So thank you for allowing us to come in front of you this evening. So for those of you who don't know what we do, Cancer Support Community, Central New Jersey provides licensed mental health professional services in a range of cancer support services available to individuals and families throughout Central New Jersey at no charge. And we've provided, since we've started in 2002, 80,000 hours worth of programs and services to the community. And again, our services are at no charge. We do not charge for programs, we do not take insurance, and we are not reimbursed by the government. So our main way of providing support so that we can run these programs is through fundraising. Since I came to the organization as the executive director in 2012, we implemented a clothing donation program. I've been previously involved in a program with American Red Cross, which I ran in Somerset County, and I brought that vendor over from that organization to Cancer Support Community. And the reason why was because that individual took such great care with the program. It matters what brand we put on clothing because anybody who sees that could either be a user of our service or a potential donor to our organization. So how those bins are maintained is critically important to us, and the customer service provided. So the vendor that I've been using since 2007, vendor of record. Since we implemented the program in 2012, we've raised over $126,000 in unrestricted general operating funding. And for nonprofit, that's huge. To raise that kind of dollars, those kinds of dollars is tough. So having a program like this continues to grow is hugely important to us. It also puts our brand out into the community as well. In addition to funds raised, we manage through this vendor 30 bins throughout New Jersey. So this is not the only bin that we would have. So we have quite a good deal of experience in this area in terms of managing that. The other thing I would just say to you is for the patients and family members that we serve who are struggling financially, being able to donate clothing is one thing that they can do. And so it's a way for people to give back at a time when they may not be able to afford making a donation to ensure services are available for others. And the other reason why I bring that up is because many of these folks are struggling. Some of them treatment, many of them are in treatment. And because we do accept clothes today, the walk that we require them to make to drag those clothes up the walkway is difficult. And so this would provide a service to them, easy access to be able to make those donations, which we feel is so important to the people that we serve. I would also just want to note, we are often asked, residents will call and ask if they can donate clothes. So this is a service to residents as well, and a way to ensure that our services can continue.
So we're here tonight because under your ordinances, you do not allow for clothing. And to a certain extent, we all know that there's good reason for those types of regulations. If we had $1 for each time we went to a CVS or a Rite Aid and saw an accumulation of materials outside of a clothing bin strewn in an professional, unhealthy-looking way, we'd all be rich. What we're talking about tonight is one clothing bin within our community, our own property, which would not be visible from the street. I like to find something humorous in everything. As I say, that we have a very important neighborhood aesthetic because we are situated next to the most preppy or clothing Burger King imaginable. So we have an obligation to the community that whatever we do, that we do it in the right way. So we have an old farmhouse which we've restored. We have a barn which we redid that is in a similar colonial mode. We have permission from the town when we finish raising our monies for a second barn, again in the same style of this. So what we're talking about tonight is one clothing bin. And so as we looked at and in a way to try to attack the issue, we had our folks design a shed, and in keeping with Burger King mode, very attractive shed within which things could be placed. And you don't have a cancer survivor to feel the long walk sometimes from the parking lot to the area within the farmhouse where we see these materials. My law firm, I think, just donated 50 bags of clothing, which I had to carry in from the parking lot there. But the idea is just to make it easier, a little bit more consistent with our use of our property, and at the same time engage with the town in essence, if you want, a pilot program to see, is this something that works? So we would be prepared as an organization to turn around and say, hey, here's our report card for year 1. This is how we've done it. Amy's relationship with this vendor is such that, it's true, Amy, right, that the vendor makes regular pickups at our facility and is also on 24/7 notice with us to pick things up. So some of the problems that we've all seen at other places there is a good circumstantial guarantee that that won't be a problem at this facility. So,
While we're talking about it, how often are the pickups at your place now?
So right now, we don't have, well, we have to call. So when our closet becomes overfull, we call. But normally it would be twice a week. And if the volume gets higher, they would add on rounds. Because in this area anyway, we just added a bin in Warren. And we have others in the area. Like I said, we have 30 bins in New Jersey. So he's in there quite frequently, as well as for other organizations like the Red Cross.
I think the nearest one we have is to here is over in Bridgewater. They have the fire department on Dow and Green Knoll, and I think both of them.
They do have a drop-off
I think
shed.
that's the closest one. I don't know if we have one in town right now.
I don't think there's one in town. There's one up in Burnsville at the CVS, but I think that has been removed.
Yeah.
now, as John probably knows, what you have in some towns is you have ordinances that actually, these are not, ordinances that everyone loves to see. But in some towns, including in Chatham and Chatham Township, you have ordinances that allow for the placement of these types of bins on the property owned or occupied by a church or charity. And that's their exclusion. And the other thing we all have to keep in mind is the neighborhood of New Jersey enacted legislation trying to address the problem that we've all seen by requiring the posting of various notices on these bins to, in some ways, to justify the legitimacy or corporateness of these organizations that do it. And so our bin or our shed would have all the notifications required by the current New Jersey statute.
The photo that's attached as Exhibit A, the application, is that the shed? Is that the same exact shed?
It'll look just like that, yeah. That's not, he's got to actually put that together for us, but that was the sample that we used. So it would look very similar to the other buildings.
And this is open to general public? Just
Everybody.
Everyone come in?
Anybody.
Bring a bag, drop it off, drop
The more the merrier. If you'd like to promote it, we'd love that. I mean, because at the end of the day, when you see that bin, there's money attached to that, and that money is actually delivering services. So the more people that use it, better it is for us. And it also raises awareness of the services. Told us that we're the best kept secret. And that's been changing over time, but the fact is we want people to know where we are, and if we can provide a value-added service to the community, even better, beyond what we do normally.
Has Paul or anyone else from construction or engineering reviewed the application? Do they have any comments about the placement?
They have met with Jeff Price Zoning. I know construction is aware that they're before us this evening. This was a little bit different than the normal bin that goes in a parking lot in the shopping center. So that's why it came before us as a special use permit.
So, but presumably the parking for it is not going to block the entrance to your building or the office park behind it?
Not at all.
Okay.
And it would also wouldn't interfere with our existing parking lot spaces, which become very critical as time goes on, because it's consistent with our original approval. So no parking spaces endangered as a result of this.
So special permit be subject to compliance, and, what if it determined that it was not working out the way everybody thought? I mean, what's our thought on that in terms of being able to police it if it were to go through?
Well, I think that's where, with the special use permit, it would have to get renewed.
Yeah.
So I think the string we have attached to this is, if you want to do it for a year or 2 years or whatever, you bring them back, and if it's becoming a nuisance and it's not what they propose it to be, or it doesn't, then we always have the opportunity to not renew.
Yeah. How much time do you need before construction and that it's actually delivered on site?
I have to check with the vendor. He started sourcing people to help us, but we weren't sure how this was going to go, so I have to let him know. My feeling is it can be turned around fairly quickly. It's just whether or not this is approved or not.
Okay. So, and just following up on the idea of if you give it 1 year, if it's going to take them 2 months to get out here, we want to see it for a year, then like I said, give them enough time to get the thing constructed and installed.
And I think overall, it's a fine use. I don't have a problem with a clothing donation structure. I mean, like I said, the nearest one, we've got to go to Bridgewater to do it. And I think the Cancer Support Community's had a really good track record in town for doing good quality work. If you've ever toured the facilities, you'll see everything seems to be first class and kept up. So I would trust them to put together in a good way.
Honestly, it does compel us to know that we did have an alarm problem that we've since fixed. But our alarm went off how many times?
That meant too many to.
Too many.
Okay,
But that problem has been remedied. That's in violation of our good neighbor policy.
all right.
So Mayor, you propose, what time limit are you suggesting?
I'll take suggestions.
I would suggest, quite honestly, I would suggest a year, because we want to be good neighbors.
Mhm.
And we want to know if it's not meeting your standards. And I get the point that maybe it'll take 45 days for this thing to be built, but that should give us enough experience to sort of say, all right, how did it work out? Obviously, the zoning officer is always out and about in terms of town. He's free to stop by at any point in time to look at it, as are, local law enforcement, so.
As are you if you'd like to donate sometime too.
I have bags.
Well, we just held a drive at our Wings of Hope event. I want to thank the mayor for opening that event for us, but it's a need. People do this on a regular basis and they don't know what to do, and they want to make sure that their clothes are not going to be shredded, they're going to a good cause, and what better way to say that they're going to help your community? So I mean, to me, as somebody who has to raise money, this is a huge program for us. And if we can help the community, even better. So if you want us to come back a year from now or a year from the date it's placed, I would encourage that, because maybe we want to tell you a really good story of how those funds were used.
If I could add, as the municipal, at the town hall, we get a request for this all the time. Where do we go? We close, where do we take them? And we never have an answer.
Well, I'll tell you what, rather than have you come back to us and tell us when it's been installed, let's just pick a date. And I'm going to suggest just to make the beginning of summer and the end of the summer and make it kind of, let's set a renewal date in September.
Gotcha.
Because that gives you a couple, 60 days or so to put it together. We come back after the big summer break, and you can meet with us in September of 18 and say, it worked, it didn't work, and then we don't have to track down, well, what day did it exactly go in?
Perfect.
And it gives you some time. Can I get, go ahead.
I'm sorry, did you want to do a motion or something?
I'm going to ask for a motion for that, on
I
that
was just
date.
going to make a comment.
Go ahead.
And do so after.
Oh, go ahead.
No, while we got you here and you haven't gone away yet, I just want to say thank you, because, we talk about business neighbors and trying to get folks that are going to help out the community. And like you say, who doesn't know someone either in their own family or their friends that haven't been touched by cancer? And if you read the research, your state of mind and your ability to, act every day is so key to conquering the disease. So the support that you're giving and the services you're providing the community is really exceptional. And thank you.
Thank you very
What
much.
the mayor said
Mhm.
at our event, and being someone who grew up in Bedminster, I agree. Bedminster's just not about the people who live here, it's about the people who gather here during the course of the day. Now, some of those people are involved in commerce and entrepreneurial activities, and some of those people are seeking, important treatment at the different not-for-profits that are housed in Bedminster. So it's a good partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Best of luck.
Great summer.
Thank you. With that, that brings us to one of 2 points in the program where we open up that microphone again for public comment. If there's any member of the public that wishes to be heard on anything, you have 2 opportunities, one now and one at the end of the meeting. Please avail yourself if that's what you're here for. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to monthly subcommittee reports. And we'll start with Mr. Stevenson this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. A couple things to report on. JVH is going along fine. They're still looking for some incarnations for the barn, but everything is on course. They've got some very good programs coming up. A lot of really neat stuff coming out of that organization. I'm happy to report. Met with John last month. I think we're going to touch upon it a little bit later in the meeting, but we have some funding that came through for the paving maintenance plan. And the other thing that is not really a committee report. You want me to wait for later on the clean air grant? You want me to?
No, this would be fine to talk about now.
Rec didn't have a meeting, so it's going to happen this month.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll report back to you on that. But sort of on a rec-related base issue, recall that we had funds to give away in a clean air grant, and we had a meeting, and several folks had applied for it, the school, our rec department, and our environmental commission. So what we decided to do was to divvy up the funds equitably across all, so that we could sort of spread the wealth, if you will. And way it's going to break down, we're going to give, and it's obviously subject to any thoughts you might have, but what we had decided was the school, we would, is $7,700, 77.24 exactly. The rec committee, we were going to put aside $2,500 for the rec committee, and the same for open space. And I do see actually there's two other entities that are in here as well. The Bedminster Open Space and Farmland Preservation Committee, $2,500, and $300 to the Raritan Headwaters Association. So I'm happy to report that we can make the grant go a long way, spread it around, and all of those initiatives will be going for, clean air and cleaning the communities. So any questions about that?
I think that's a greater donation to the school than in years past, and I know they were very much counting the days to the end of the year on that issue, wanting to see a decision made on our part. And it sounds like also we've got a lot of our volunteer committees that could benefit from it as well. That to me sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
So with approval, I'd like to send out award letters to those groups with the criteria of...
Can we get a sense of the committee? Is there any dissent?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Great job.
Thank you.
Doug, is there the JVH Field of Honor, the July 2nd party, right? Are they still July 2nd, 4th of July party?
It is coming up, yes. They want to do that for July 4th. I don't have any specifics yet, but I can certainly get it and circulate it.
If I could jump in, there's brochures in the back of the room. JVH is partnering with a group by the name of Vet Rest. It's a veterans group to raise funds for veterans with PTSD. JVH is not taking any money from it. They're just going to cover whatever costs might be involved with the event, and then any extra donations go to the Vet Rest group. So it's been very well received. It's on our website, it's on our Facebook page, and applications are available. You can either do it online or you can do it, with a check.
And Judy, the program itself will be similar to last year's Field of Honor?
It will be almost exactly. They're going to run it the same. Just Bedminster Charity stepped away from it this year, and this veterans group, which we thought was a much better fit for the program, stepped up and said they're two West Point graduates that are running the program.
Actually, with John, did they communicate with you to coordinate the field getting?
No.
Okay. I'll see if they can do that.
I'll try, yes.
And I think the same as last year, July 2nd, they're having the picnic.
The picnic is July 2nd, yes.
So you can admire.
You go out and
the
that's where
flag.
you go your flag.
Yeah.
It's a nice
It's really
event. The
neat.
flags are substantial. It's really, it's got a presence as you go up and down 206 there. It's a head turner. So it's real neat.
Yeah.
It's a great event.
People brought their blankets and like they picnicked a little bit. So
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Jacobs.
Okay, I have a couple meetings to report on. First, we'll do Environmental Commission, so May 17th. the EC had its meeting, and under the well-run and well-organized Colin Hickey as chair, and Colin just happens to be here tonight. Hi, Colin. Colin, we may call you up at some point. Some of the programs that EC is pushing forward. One is Tim Walters coordinating with the Board of Health on septic inspection reminders. Board of Health was on board and told Tim they have it under control, but Tim is going to continue to liaise with the Board of Health and to make sure that septic inspection reminders go out. Natalia is also working with the Rec Committee as a liaison to continue to foster programs that both EC and Rec can work on together. Renee Moreski has had a meeting, I think the meeting was actually supposed to be last week, with Walter Lane and Tara from County Planning on looking at farmers markets and see what programs may be available to host farmers markets on either regular or one-off basis in the township. Renee was also going to reach out to Bedminster Charities to see if there was a way to actually bring a farmers market into Fall Fest. So that may be something that, I'm not sure if that's happened yet, or Renee may be waiting on.
Bedminster Charities has been talking about that, and we have a potential vendor that might help, so.
Tim Walters is championing, not just on the septic issue, but also looking to see whether there's any grants to have electric vehicle charging stations, perhaps on the municipal property. That is going to happen sooner or later. I can see, in the future, we will have one or two or more vehicles that are electric, and perhaps even some maybe for residents. So one of the things that Tim is looking to do is just see what grant programs are out there, and maybe we can find something and work with those grant programs to actually install those charging stations. John Coates is also leading the charge for school outreach with Bedminster Schools. And John has already coordinated with Mr. Hogan, and most of us are familiar with Mr. Hogan, looking at running an environmental program for the 2017-2018 school year. And on June 3rd, EC ran a well testing program. And Colin, maybe you just want to come up here and just give a quick rundown on how the well testing worked.
Thank you, Jacobs. And I just want to thank you all, because as you're hearing the names come out, it's a very energetic committee. Stepping up, taking initiative, trying new things. We spent, by the way, most of the early part of the year trying to meet and get best of breed ideas from different towns, meeting with ANJAC, meeting with the New Jersey Conservation Foundation, meeting with Raritan Headwaters. And as Mr. Jacobs mentioned, Raritan Headwaters advised us that, first and foremost, get a well testing initiative in place. We ran our first one last Saturday. We got off to a good start. We had 6 folks show up, wanted more, but at least we had some show up. We want to think about, looking back now, how we can do a better job. Linda Gassi stepped up immediately, took that initiative on, did a lot of work on that. And she's excited to do it again next year. We're thinking, do we do it earlier in the year? Do we do more targeted advertising? A lot of postcards went out, a lot of posters went up, but we still want to think about how to do it better. But we're off to a good start on that one. So we'll keep working on that. As Mr. Jacobs mentioned, we're looking to school also do some type of outreach with them. And it might come down to something like a moth night, which we understand some of our neighboring communities are doing with great success. I mean, thousands of people show up to some of these events. It's amazing. I'm learning. Or I do something with, apparently the bat population in New Jersey is suffering right now, and there's education programs around that. Might get the school kids involved, maybe build little bat houses or something like that. So there are a lot of good ideas out there right now. Everybody's kind of picking up an initiative and trying to figure out, how they can kind of better, what we're doing for Bedminster. And then as I know Stevenson is aware of, we're working with Rec and Open Space to try to figure out some joint initiatives, and obviously the grant that was mentioned tonight, we'll get active on that as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work.
Mr. Hick, I am very happy to see that the Environmental Commission has so much energy. Good job. Thank you. I mean, that means you've got a good commission, a good committee.
My job is easy. It's everybody's picking up the ball and running with it.
That's great.
It's terrific. Thank you.
Well, there's the EC meeting, and once again, just want to echo your remarks that Colin is doing a fantastic job, and we really do have a great EC. I've been a member of EC, I've been liaison to EC before. This group is really pushing it. They're being proactive. The first couple of meetings was like, well, what do we do as a committee? What do we do? But with the right leadership, these guys are going out on their own to find programs that they can wrap their arms around, and they're doing it in a manner where it's not one person volunteering to do 5 different things, or no one volunteering to do everything. Each program is being designed with a champion and a leader who's taking it on, and at every meeting there's a report on how they're doing, and there's progress on each of those initiatives that are being championed. And Colin's just doing a great job. So once again, thank you, Colin. STAB, Sewer Transmission Advisory Board. Steve, you and I had the meeting last week with Judy and John. This was interesting. It was my first STAB meeting. And also, I think, we're heading into a transition as we move away from Whitewater essentially running the program, to PPAC, the folks at PPAC who have the appropriate license to manage and run a sewer transmission system. And so far, it seems like it's going well. There's going to be money savings for all the municipalities involved. And for the first time, it looks like we may have an assessment and an inspection evaluating the condition of the sewer itself, and actually maybe a to-do list to follow. And that'll probably be at the next STAB meeting, whenever that is, a few months from now, I guess.
We were going to let them complete the assessment and then come back with their list of projects, and then we'll meet.
Okay.
Probably June, or
And
July, maybe.
I will tell you, the sage person at that STAB meeting, I think, is Ms. Tweedy from Far Hills, who's probably been doing this for an awful long time, and she is so positive about this transition with PPAC Gladstone's DPW, helping out our DPW. Just very pleased at the direction this is all going. So, and also I want to thank Judy and John Mance, because they're the ones that worked with Rodney and the folks over in PPAC Gladstone to kind of put this all together. So it seems to be going in the right direction, and keep it up.
And while not necessarily on a committee report, but I do want to mention that in prior Township Committee meetings, we've discussed the county and the Priority Investment Growth Program, and we met with the county a couple times now, and the plan to evaluate the AT&T property and by extension some of Bedminster Village investment opportunities. We gave final comments, I guess it was just 2 weeks ago. It was the Friday.
Just got a notice today, their first meeting is the 15th.
Right, so that we gave the comments, and I think we may have been the last municipality to provide that last round of comments. And the county is running its Supporting Priority Investment in Somerset County Phase 3 study, long name, public meeting number 2, and that'll be June 15th, down at the County Administration Building. And this is where the county planning is going to roll out the investment program countywide through 17 study areas, and the Bedminster Village and AT&T property is one of those study areas. And so I plan on going. I'm not sure, Judy, if anyone else is going, but it's open to all. And Mayor, I want to commend you on your speech at the Memorial Day Parade, and also thank the fire departments for organizing, and Judy for your assistance in putting it all together. Mayor, your comments about reminding everyone that it's Memorial Day and that there are names up on the monuments on 202, and that those names go to folks who lived in Bedminster and died in the service of their country. And Memorial Day is a day to recognize those folks from Bedminster who gave their lives, even though those lives were given many, many years ago. So once again, thank you very much for your thoughts. That's my report.
And I was just so impressed with the amount of folks that came out on a really rainy day. We didn't know if it was going to be a downpour or a break in the action, but I was really, really so touched to see all the folks that came for the Bedminster side and the Far Hills side. And boy, want to talk about a good speech. The major that we brought down from Picatinny Arsenal, the Marine Corps major, tug at your heart. Tug at your heart. And unfortunately, by reading our paper of record this week, it doesn't appear that we had anything because they didn't cover us, but I will say that the Burnersville News missed out. That was really quite a ceremony. So, thank you.
Mayor, so attended our Fall Fest meeting this past week. Judy, I'm sure will touch on that a little bit, but October 14th coming up, and it's only, what, June 5th now? So planning, but they're changing it around a little bit, changing the way you're pulling in, making sure that I think we enlarge the space. So we're working on that. Judy, if you want to add anything during your report, we just want to keep reminding everybody to come out. And we have the same enthusiastic, things feel really far ahead right now.
Yeah, the monthly meetings we've never done monthly meetings as we're doing them now. It's really helpful and kind of giving everybody a job to do. Like you're saying, when the environmental, Bedminster Charities has now done the same. They put somebody in charge of each committee that's taking it and running with it. It's really working very well.
Yeah, so everybody's really enthusiastic. And at first I was like, tell me it's June 5th or it's June. Why are we meeting? But I think it's going to be perfect when, it comes down to September and it's not going to be in 100-degree weather, hopefully, like it was last year.
No, it'll snow.
And the farmers market aspect, we're going to include that as well. So it's going to be a little different this year, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So everybody's working. And that's really the only meeting that I attended. The only update I have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just a couple things to add. I attended a meeting with Fran Wood, the superintendent of the Somerset Hills School District. Every year she asks for the mayors of the sending districts to come in, and had a meeting with Mayor Vallone and Mayor Muller, and we got to see a somewhat redacted list of the colleges that this year's graduating class at Bernards is going to, and very impressive. The list of Bedminster students and where they're going, I think we have at least one, if not two, Ivy League candidates coming, and I think I think we have two, and the rest of the sending districts only have one, so not that that's necessarily a measure, but very impressive list of colleges. The district seems to be doing well with that. They talked about their strategic plan. That I attended one of 3 meetings because the other 2 meetings were held on nights that this body meets or the Bedminster Board of Education meets, and I voiced my displeasure over the fact that Bedminster really didn't get to participate since they scheduled it for nights that were not available. But I also asked how the curriculum integration was going, because I think that's always a hot topic every year with the Bernards High School. I think having 2 different school districts and different curriculums, and I'm not going to, that's education stuff, but that is always feedback we get as we knock on doors and talk to folks, is to make sure that our 8th graders, when they go to Bernards High, have all the same opportunities that the kids in the Bernards system have going to that high school. That there's not classes that they're unable to take because they didn't get that in 7th or 8th grade. So I was assured that they continue to build towards that. And also alluded to earlier, I was fortunate enough to be asked to go help open the Wings of Hope at the Cancer Support Community on Saturday. And again, they had some rain clouds early in the morning, but the weather seemed to break for their event, and they had a very nice crowd for that, and that is always a pretty special event to see all those folks get together, and that was very nice. So all things are, I communicated very briefly with the chief, but I know there was another gathering on Saturday in Bedminster.
Well, the chief respectfully asked to be excused tonight. He had a very busy weekend and has a very busy upcoming week, so he bowed out tonight.
But I've had a little bit of communication with him in between then and now, before and afterwards, and I do want to thank and commend the Bedminster Police Department and the DPW for all the work they did in preparing the site and making sure it was ready and available, and by all accounts, everything went smoothly, peacefully. Sandy Putnam, the library director, said that things couldn't have gone better and easier, so as long as that's the way it's going, I think that's all we can ask. So I think that's very good. Yep. And with that, administrators report, Ms. Sullivan.
Yes, last meeting, I did report that we had just submitted our application to the federal government for reimbursement of funds that we spent last November when, at that time, President-elect Trump came to visit. We had only just, it was preliminary review. I did get a phone call actually the day after our meeting to tell us that initially we were told maybe just overtime costs, but we were told to submit everything. So in addition to overtime costs, we put in regular costs. John Mance and his department was out doing signs. We had some administrative costs. Obviously, the chief doesn't get overtime. He had a lot of time put into the event, as well as staff here. So they said put it all in and let's see how it just pans out. Got called the day after and was told that all our costs were approved and we should see reimbursement for that over the summer, no later than September. So that was good news that we heard. Also, there's some really cute thank you notes, and I think I left them with Doug, from 8th graders who received, we give out 4 awards at the 8th grade graduation. Best female athlete, best male athlete, we give out a citizenship award, and then we give out the Ann and David O'Brien History Award. And we got the cutest thank you notes from these kids, so I hope you'll get a chance to just look at them.
Yeah, I'll touch upon those
Oh,
later.
okay.
Yeah.
They're really cute. And just, there was a letter that I gave each of you from Ed Schmier, who's the attorney for BHHC, with a formal request for a review and possible amendment to the spending plan that we currently have in place. I believe this would require a resolution if we're going to do that. So I gave you each a copy, and Larry asked me to give it to Attorney Bilardo so we can maybe put something together, you know.
Well, he suggests in his last paragraph that he'll prepare an amendment to the spending plan, so if he would direct Mr. Smear to prepare that amendment, we would actually have, when we adopt the resolution, something to approve.
Great, great. So
Give us a proposal.
target our next meeting that he get that to us.
Okay.
Okay.
And copy me.
Right, ahead of time. And then the last part of my report just echoes what Committeeman Stevenson already mentioned with our awards from the Clean Communities Grant. So
Thank you.
the only other question I have, though, is our first meeting in July is set for Monday, July 3rd. And the question is, will we have such a meeting? Because often we defer a July or an August or both a meeting and only have one meeting because of vacations. So July 3rd being the Monday between the weekend and the holiday on Tuesday. So
Is the 3rd the federal holiday?
the 4th is the holiday.
Okay, so we
But
don't,
the 3rd
we never do the 4th of July, not on the 4th of July. Well, that's
But the
good.
3rd is currently a scheduled meeting.
Okay. And is the 3rd a scheduled workday?
Yes,
Pending.
for some.
Some. Well, let's,
So in light of the upcoming
Mhm.
summer festivities, perhaps that could be the meeting that maybe we don't have this summer.
It's just a question.
works for me.
I would still request that maybe we would do something about approving a bill list, but that could be done, early morning meeting, whenever day you might want to do that. So we
Okay.
could get a quorum to approve the bill list.
Perhaps we
It
could
doesn't
do,
have to be the 3rd, it can be
yeah,
some other
it could be
day.
Thursday or Friday that
Right.
week. Like-
I just checked, and believe it or not, my office is closed.
I don't
So,
believe it. So is mine.
Doug?
Oh, we're open. Ah.
It's not open.
Sweatshop.
He's not open.
Can you do the 10th and the 24th, or is that a problem for?
The 3rd, the 17th would be the second meeting.
But rather than the 3rd and 17th, can it be done as the 10th and the 24th?
Certainly, we could,
We're going to meet for a bill, if we're going to do a bill approval approval meeting, I mean, that requires same notice as anything else.
Right, so I'm going to have to notice something, whatever you might want to do. I'm either going to notice a Billis meeting in the morning, or we can change the 2 dates to 2 other dates, or just have pick one date, but I still need 2 Billis in July.
I'll just do a Billis meeting on the Friday morning.
That would be the 7th?
Yeah.
That would be okay?
That's fine.
That's fine.
Sold.
Like
So
8:30, something like that?
8:30 Billis meeting on
Yeah.
the 7th?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Right.
Okay. That's all I
That was easy.
All right.
All right, discussion on introduced ordinances. We don't have any, but we do have introduction of ordinances, or some ordinances to potentially introduce. We'll start out with ordinance 2017-013. This is an ordinance, Township of Bedminster, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, to amend and supplement the land use regulations of the Township of Bedminster, specifically Chapter 13 entitled Land Management. As to certain setbacks and floor area ratio requirements in residential and non-residential zones, and sign requirements in the VN Village Neighborhood Zone. Purpose of this ordinance is to amend Chapter 13 entitled Land Management, Township of Bedminster General Ordinances to amend certain setback FAR requirements in residential zones and to amend sign requirements in the Village Neighborhood Zone. Public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled for June 19th, 7 p.m. in these chambers. This has been a long time in coming. It's going through a lot of iterations, going through a lot of review, but I think we've got it now.
Yes.
Agreed.
So, just as everyone remembers that, we were going to introduce this, was that the last meeting, or was it 2 meetings before?
Last meeting.
Last meeting. Bill Ray approached us and suggested that there were some language changes, and perhaps that some of the math didn't make sense in the ordinance. We took it back to both planning and to the engineer to address and examine Mr. Ray's comments, and it came back from both planning and engineering that it was drafted as was intended when it was referred to us from the Land Use Board in 2016. So with that endorsement from both Paul Ferraro and Frank Banish, I agree that it's ready to be introduced.
All right. Can I get a motion to introduce ordinance 2017-013?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
And then ordinance 2017-014, this is an ordinance authorizing the appropriation of $50,500 for various police equipment for the police department. So authorizes appropriating $50,500, various police equipment for the police department in the Township of Bedminster. Public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled June 19th, 7 p.m. in these chambers. Any comments or questions?
Just briefly, these are these were the normal, as listed in our capital plan from the budget. We have introduced other capital ordinances earlier in the year. We didn't do one for the police department at that time. So this just puts aside the monies that we had appropriated for the police department.
Is the full amount of the appropriations for the
Yes.
police department under the budget?
Yes. The ordinance is very broad. It just says police equipment, so that if things need to be changed or amended or even canceled, it would be fine.
If no other comments or questions, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hearing on ordinances, we have no ordinances for a public hearing. Consent agenda, we have one resolution on the consent agenda. Any comments or questions? That's 2017-061. If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved. Second.
This is roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Several resolutions tonight. We'll start with Resolution 2017-062. That's authorize the employment of a truck driver/equipment operator for the Department of Public Works. John, so we got a new person coming on board?
We had a resignation from within the Public Works Department. We advertised for another employee. got over 30 applications, and of the 30 applications, we did second interviews of 2 individuals, and this is the chosen one of the 2 at this point.
Any comments or questions? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. Resolution 2017-063, this is authorizing the mayor and the township clerk to execute a statement of consent regarding a treatment works approval permit, the TWA. That's for the Environmental Disposal Corporation Head Works Improvements. And this, don't we do this every year?
So, we do
Where's
this
this?
from time to time. EDC has requested one for the little pumping station that's there on the bottom of Flat Mountain Road. This one is for the one across from, I'll say, the Exxon gas station area.
Mhm.
There's a little pumping station right across
Right.
from the gas station. So they're redoing that along with the Headworks program over at the main facility. So this has been reviewed by Paul Farrell in his office, and he said everything seems appropriate. They also have an application before the land use board, but he said this is not really dependent on that, and they're just not dependent on this, they're separate.
Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution 2017-064, authorizing the release of land use board escrow in the amount of $4,855.70 for the Hamilton Farm Golf Club. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. We have Resolution 2017-065, ratifying the contract for refurbishment of a fire truck from the Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department. Does anybody know which truck this is?
So, this is really, shall I say, I'll call it housekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
We had Chief Lynch before us not that long ago explaining that the refurbishment of the one truck, they came in under budget, they wanted to spend some of their own other monies on other projects. But now the refurbishment of the one truck is complete, it's back on the road. We were paying for the purchase order, which was split 80-20 between Bedminster and Far Hills. And just as a kind of a housekeeping thing, it was suggested that we actually do a resolution awarding that contract. If they were a state contract group, they did the work, everything was fine, but because it was split between 2 towns, just to keep it very clean, it was suggested that we do an authorizing resolution, ratifying that contract. The work is done and everything's
Any comments or questions?
The engine was 29,102, it's their secondary.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, okay. Then I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Also, roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. Resolution 2017-066, this is authorizing a contract for the road resurfacing of Smoke Rise Road and Miller Lane. I'm sure there's going to be some folks.
This is following suit of what you just did. This is kind of like a housekeeping resolution. We have adopted the capital ordinance for road resurfacing, the pavement management plan in 2017. This is through the Morris County Co-op. It's the road resurfacing co-op, and we are using Stavola Contracting to do the work. So we're going to do Smoke Rise Lane, and we're also going to do Miller Lane right out here.
Terrific. Terrific. So no more patches for Smoke Rise, a good resurface. Great. No, that's awesome. I think there's going to be some very happy folks up on Smoke Rise, so that's great. Any comments or questions? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote again, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. Finally, Resolution 2017-067, authorizing a contract for the purchase of police vehicles.
I'd like to defer to John, he can tell you a little story of what.
Uh-oh.
So in the past week or so, 2 weeks, the police department has gotten very short on vehicles due to breakdowns, repairs, and things are out of service. So they're in dire needs of vehicles at this point in time. Your operating budget for the police department has $42,000 in it to replace vehicles and equipment. And I believe the construction code budget also has 2 vehicles in it. So we made the decision to buy all 3 vehicles at this point in time so that we can get that order in and then take the one SUV that construction currently has, move it to the police department as soon as possible, as soon as the schedule will allow to get some other vehicles into service. They have a couple newer vehicles that are actually having some serious issues. One is an engine needs to be almost rebuilt totally, and it's not because it's more of a manufacturer's defect, and they're going to replace it, I believe, for free. So, and we found some other issues in other vehicles that were also warranted. So, to keep cars on the road. So, of the 8 vehicles that they really have, they only have 4 that are operational.
And the code enforcement vehicle will probably be something that someone else may inherit as the
Correct.
years
So
go on?
what we're doing at this point in time is all the vehicles that are being purchased right now can be used in the police department. They're a spec of the police department.
Mhm.
So the state contract that represents is for police pursuit vehicles. It's the interceptors that are on the contract.
Which is the construction code, construction inspection vehicle that's in use now?
It's the last one that I don't think it was the last one, the year before, or maybe it was the last one.
No, it's the 2016.
It's a Ford Interceptor that's out back here. That
Black Ford Interceptor.
Okay. It's the
They're
little,
just gonna-
it's not the little
Blue?
SUV.
No.
Okay.
No. So we're trying to coordinate everything so that, it fits their needs and it also fits other departments' needs.
We're also going to probably take that Interceptor
Ricky.
very quickly and trade them a not so often used police vehicle that will be fine for just bopping around town, as opposed to the police department that really, puts a lot of wear and tear.
So where they also run into some issues is to outfit the vehicles, which I didn't really understand and fully until I got into this a little bit more, is that to outfit a police vehicle with all the cages, the radios, the radar units, the cameras, something else I'm missing, it works out to be about $22,000, which is just about as much as the car is worth. The car is worth $24 and change.
Yeah.
So it's incredible the amount of equipment. So we're trying to also buy cars that they can swap equipment down from year to year.
Now, we don't buy new equipment every time.
Correct.
That equipment has to be moved from one old
Yep.
vehicle to a new vehicle, and that also entails cost.
Oh, yeah.
However, the $42,000 that's in the police budget currently will supply the new equipment for the one car that they're getting in. So we're doing what we can with
Yep.
moving things around. And I'm going to go, before you do that, I'm going to go back to the last resolution on the road resurfacing. Just as a point of reference, we're using last year's money first, and then this year's money, so we had $58,000 left from the last year's capital improvement plan for the pavement management, and then probably just draw down whatever the balance is for this project that we're doing the paving on, which leaves us enough money, hopefully, to put towards the Hillside Avenue project in next coming year. And then also, just a point of information, we did get the $190,000 for the Hillside Road project.
Yep. All right.
Sorry to back up on that one.
Mhm. Do I have a motion for 2016-067?
So,
No, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs. Ms. Santucci.
Aye.
Mayor Clark.
Aye. Approve the bill list. Can I get a motion to approve the bill list pending the approval of individual invoices?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Zanaguchi?
Aye.
Mayor Park?
Aye. Discussion items. Do we have anything up for discussion? Any discussion items tonight?
I guess just a question for John. The timing for Smoke Rise and Miller Lane?
As soon as we pass this resolution, we put a purchase order in, give them the purchase order, then it goes on to their schedule. So I don't know the schedule on that at this point in time. Hopefully within next couple months.
Think that during the summer, by August, or?
Open, and I think your concern could possibly be a school.
Yeah, yep,
We'll push that along, see what we can do.
okay. And any update on hike and bike?
So we did take bids for materials last Thursday. Unfortunately, the material bid that we put in and was hoping to get some bids on, we didn't get any bids.
Yep.
So no bids. So for just
This is on
material-
the pervious pavement?
Correct. So we just sent out another advertisement today for a rebid of the same product, same identical thing at this point in time. So we're going to take bids on June the 22nd, I believe. Hope to be awarded now, since the Township Committee meeting was changed, on July 17th. At this point in time. See what happens.
If we don't receive bids a second time, then we can negotiate.
Go straight to one of the local paving companies?
We can go to the vendor, which
Right.
is the Vola material, contracting materials, and see what kind of price we can get from them.
Okay. So even on that, so if, presuming either we receive bids some around, or we go straight to contracting, will the hike and bike trail be paved?
Give me a deadline.
You want a deadline?
I'd like a deadline. You have something in mind, I can tell.
Fall Fest?
Well, certainly, earlier than Fall Fest. You got any runs planned for?
It'd be great if it could be done by Labor Day. I already use your trails.
I'm going to do my best to get it done before June. So I can tell you, I was hoping that we would have some bids. I mean, I had some conversation with some representatives from Stavola, and it seemed like, everything was a go, and then all of a sudden, nobody showed up. Disappointing.
But Stavola was in the recipients of the bid, right? So,
Because of the location of where their plant location is, and it's very close to what we need it to be for us to do that project. I think maybe what held them back a little bit is the amount of material, which is not a lot. It's 1,300 tons for the most part. But we did put some stipulations there that because of the logistics of the hike and bike trail, we can only put so much material down in a day because we have to back a truck all the way to location, do what we need to, have them pull out. I mean, it's a time-consuming project. 1,300 tons in the real contracting world is nothing in a day.
and so even though that there had been all this push for pervious pavement with some of the environmental requirements, they're still not making it enough that they would still have to treat this as a batch.
It has to be
Batch
done as a
project.
batch project.
And since we're only doing a small amount.
Correct. And I think that's holding some of those people back at this time.
Okay.
So we also did put a mileage limitation on it. We put a 20-mile limitation on it so that there's only a couple plants that can produce.
Thanks for that explanation.
Do what I can, be, gentlemen and ladies.
Business? Any new business?
Save it for comments later.
Oh, okay. Old business. 130 Hillside Avenue, anything new to report?
I attended the meeting with the adjacent owners. Sullivan was there. I thought it went well. It's really just, it's the ball's in their court now. They're looking at it. We had it carved up into a number of different ways that the lot could look like, and depending on what the it was for the adjacent owners, it looked like the one family was quite interested in taking over and expanding their backyard. On other property owners taking a position that, look, I'll go along with it if it's good for you guys, but there's no real inherent benefit for me. But I thought it was a real positive meeting. They exchanged numbers, and hopefully they'll get back to Ms. Sullivan soon.
Definitely saw some folks out there following that, I guess that weekend, that one of the property owners was out looking around and looking at the corners and seeing how things would lay out, so hopefully something positive develops from that.
If I can add one comment, I know that Ms. Sullivan did receive an inquiry from one of the property owners for some information relative to either phase environmental studies and whatnot. I do have what I have in front of me right here. I'd like Mr. Jacobs to take a look at them before we release them. We do have that one no further action letter that was given to us for the oil tank that's there, so.
Yeah, I think that was the concern. So
Yeah,
that
we
would be
did
good.
get a request for that information, and we do have that information. We hope to release it.
So I'm going to supply this with Mr. Jacobs, and hopefully he can look through it and determine, you know, that everything's fine and we should proceed.
All right. We now have another opportunity for public comment. This is the second and last bite of the apple here. No? Okay.
Mayor, one other comment
Yeah.
from last meeting, the dog park. We do need to put together a meeting of some sort at the dog park to determine. I know what I would like to see, but I'm sure that there's other individuals who may have some other ideas, and I'd rather get that. I know that Mr. Stevenson and I have had a discussion. And let's see where it goes from here, but I don't want to let it go too long before we do something.
If you want, I'll volunteer to head that up.
Sure, absolutely.
We could involve the open space, open space and environmental and rec.
Yeah, all right. Doug?
Sure.
Take the ball on that.
You got it.
You got another EC member that you can task to dog park?
No public comments. We'll move to Township Committee comments. We'll start with Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. I was recently contacted by a friend of mine, lives on Route 6, and they were very, very upset that the JCP&L subcontractors that come in to do the trees came through and absolutely annihilated their tree line. And you can see it. I mean, it's the trees, they'd be lucky they survive. I mean, they just literally just scalped half the trees and left them so that if they were ever to die, they're going to fall into the yard. They're fit to be died. They understand there's easements in place and there's really not much that they can do about it. But I think that in a town where we really push our residents to be mindful of how they upkeep their property and setbacks and all that stuff that we're interested in enforcing, to let the utility company just have folks to come in and just do what they did. I think it was in poor taste. It's not consistent with how we do things here, and I just wanted it to be voiced. I realize that there's probably very little we can do, but there's ways to do things and there's ways to do things. And she had to actually go out and track them down to bring them back to the house to make sure that like certain stumps were coming out because they just left bare stumps, 25, 50 feet in the air. I mean, it was bad. So I just think that and that's just one pocket, right? But they pretty much do that throughout our town. I don't know, a letter or something just to say, hey, can you get on the case to be a little bit more surgical, I guess you'd say. I mean, this was.
Well, we have our JCP&L rep that we can reach out to, and perhaps you certainly should be empowered if you want to give her a call and give her some feedback.
Yeah, would you
Yeah.
please? That'd be great.
We have a liaison right to the
Yeah.
town.
Fantastic.
For all that.
Mhm.
That's great.
And that's what she's there for, so.
Is that the first time, Doug, that happened to them? I mean,
Yeah.
was it a different crew and they just, I mean,
She gave me the name of the subcontractor. I don't.
I think we saw them in town over the
Yeah.
past couple of weeks.
But I mean, I get it, with the sandy problems and we had the heavy snow on the trees and lines come down and everybody's out. So there needs to be maintenance there. I get that. But again, there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. So it was not well received. On a lighter note, better note, you mentioned earlier about these notes that we received. I had the pleasure last meeting, if you recall, I was late because I was giving awards out on our behalf. And the folks, it was really neat. My oldest is in 8th grade, so these were 8th grade awards. So I know most of the award recipients. I'll pass this around. Very cute letters. Very thankful for being recognized, and it was a great thrill for them. So take a look at that. And then also just wanted to mention, I think it was the 25th of May, I had the privilege of going over to the high school. They do a spring concert. It's called an honor band where they invite 7th and 8th graders up to the high school to participate. So they only do about 4 practices. And I swear, we didn't pay to get in there. I felt like I was stealing because it was the wind ensemble, the concert orchestra, the jazz band. I mean, what talent, what a program. I mean, wow, that's all I can say. It was so impressive what they've got going on up there. It was my first exposure to it. And just phenomenal. So with your permission, I'd like to write a letter up to the music instructors and the participants, thanking them and just congratulating them.
Absolutely.
Like before I did that on our official behalf, I wanted to get your approval to that. But it was, if you have a free night and hear what's going on, and I encourage you to get up there. It's the first thing that they did just very quickly was very unique. They have a big screen, if you've ever been in that auditorium at the high school, and the lights went down. Very odd way to start, right? And Star Wars comes up on the screen, and it's the final episode, and the band starts playing, or the orchestra starts playing to the music, or to the movie as the score. So it stops, and the credits roll, and then they go into the traditional Star Wars. And, you know, for not what to expect, it was just unlike anything I had seen, and it was really neat to have the 7th and 8th graders. Mr. LaFerge from the school, his counterpart at Bedwell was there, and they do a real nice job trying to bring you along and indoctrinate you, like you were saying earlier, about everybody's got a fair shake. And it was surprisingly, I didn't know what to expect, and I left there saying, wow,
Good.
very pleased that I went. So if you can get there, do it. It was outstanding. I'd like to send a letter.
Good, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
All right, terrific. Ms. Jacobs,
Mayor, I have no further comments.
Ms. Santucci.
Mayor, just a reminder for the Essex Horse Trials on June 24th and 25th.
Yep.
And the tickets are $10, so
Yeah.
it's not expensive. You can tailgate there if you want to.
I don't believe it'll be a similar tailgate to the
No,
fall race meeting, so it might,
it's limited tailgating, 24th and 25th. of
Mr.
June.
Mayor, you can always make the tailgate however you want it.
But it's $10
I know.
it's a great way to go and see the equestrian.
no, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I brought my youngest daughter last year when they did the rollout, it was kind of a mock run, and it was really outstanding. It was really something special. And this year, the real event's going to be really amazing, so
It's
that's
also
a
tents
great
that you can
event.
buy tickets to.
Yep.
and, there's a website,
Yep.
Essex Horse Trials, maybe,
You can Google it.
Google it.
Very
Just a
good.
reminder of it.
All right, well, I will say to the large groups in the audience, you'll see equipment around here. Tomorrow is an election day, a primary election day. And even though it may not seem that there's a lot of heated races on the down ballot, there is a big race at the top of the ticket. So please come out and vote and participate. Can't complain if you don't. All right,
That was the public comment.
that's public
All right.
comment. I got a will do, that's
Will do.
great.
Address, name and address.
All right, having said that, we do have 2 items on executive session tonight. I don't believe there's any action that would follow that. So if I can get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Or-
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll see you in the back. Thank you for coming out. All right, microphones are back on, and it's 9:01. We are out of executive session. No further action tonight. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Aye.